Hi, my name is Dr. John Douillard. Welcome to LifeSpa.com, and today I want to talk about something called stoned yoga. Yeah, you got it. In states that have legalized marijuana, it's a multi-million-dollar business where people would get high and then go to a stoned yoga class. And people claim that it's amazing. They have deeper yogic experiences, deeper spiritual experiences, deeper meditations. They feel more flexible. They don't get injured as much. They're less anxious. They just feel overall it's a deeper spiritual experience when they go to yoga class stoned. Now we know that marijuana will increase parasympathetic activity, so it actually does help calm you down. We also know that it increases dopamine, so it gives you that reward chemistry. So those two things are going to make pretty much anybody feel good. Obviously, that's why a lot of people smoke marijuana, because it makes them feel good. Now, let's talk about it from a spiritual perspective. Now, in Ayurveda, yoga was designed to create a union between this crazy, busy mind of ours and our body, and using the body in a very dynamic way while we're stilling the mind. Traditionally, marijuana was understood as a soma plant, which meant that it was a spiritual plant. But it was a spiritual plant that was used to help take people who had a very busy monkey mind and help them turn it down. It was like giving them heavy artillery to give them experience of transcendence or the experience of calm and help calm them down. It was never really meant to be, from the Ayurvedic perspective, something that would use every single day or use it a lot, very much like alcohol. Alcohol was called surya, which meant it was actually very beneficial for spiritual practice, but it was a very slippery slope. It was clearly mentioned in the Vedic text that if you took a little bit too much, it can actually be very damaging. So there's an addiction part of it. What's good at small doses is not good at high doses. And this is where it becomes a very slippery slope. I can tell you, I'm going to talk a lot about this for a minute, but I can tell you I was in India. I spent a lot of years studying in India. And I went to 2 temples and ashrams in India that were actually pot smoking temples, where they claimed that the pot gave them spiritual experience, and that was the key to their spiritual process. I've also been to, when you live in India, you go to temples and you go to ashrams and you visit these spiritual places on a regular basis. That's just sort of what you do on Sunday, is you go and visit temples and things like that. And usually the temples are spotless, immaculate. The dirt around the temple is swept clean. The temple is dusted, even though it's out in the open, and they would dust all the marble and it would be absolutely impeccably clean. One temple called the Janaki Temple just outside of Varanasi on the other side of the river. A friend of mine took me there. He wanted me to, my daughter was named Janaki. He wanted me to go to the Janaki Temple. And so we went there, and he told me this is a temple where they smoke marijuana, and it's pretty unkempt. And we went there, and there were literally trees growing over. There was weeds coming out of the cracks in the ground. It was just so dirty. And the monks there looked like hell. They were just unkempt and really dirty and unshaven, and they looked scary to me, in fact. And so that was one experience I had. I went to another ashram temple north of Haldwani in the Himalayan foothills years later. And, once again, it was just a temple that just wasn't taken care of in the standard that you would see every other temple or ashram in India taken care of. That was just an impression. Maybe it doesn't mean anything. But let's dig into what marijuana actually is from the Ayurvedic perspective. It is considered to be a tamasic drug. So we know that sattva is that mindset where you give and love and care for others freely. Your cup runneth over, and you give, and it doesn't take anything away from you. Your nature is to give and love and care and be grateful and generous to others, right? And then rajas, or rajasic behavior, is when you're not satisfied in your own skin. You feel like you need outside stimulation to feel satisfied. Making money, stimulation, video games, shopping, things like that, sensory stimulation. And then when the senses get overwhelmed, we then sometimes retreat and withdraw, and we go into a tamasic state of mind where we actually retreat and withdraw. Now, we also know that marijuana was originally legalized for pain and for discomfort. It actually eradicates pain. So you have to remember that. So marijuana is a drug that was used and legalized because it was absolutely really good at blocking the pain. And the problem with using marijuana on a regular basis to do anything, particularly yoga class, when you're trying to go within and become more sattvic, it actually creates more of a tamasic experience. It blocks you from experiencing any pain or discomfort. This is a bit of a problem in our culture, right? Because I know, like, when I was young and bad things happened, it was like, suck it up. You know, you didn't get an antidepressant. You didn't go smoke weed. You had to just go through the pain. And there's an old saying in Ayurveda that says the pain is directly across from the bliss. And the reason for the pain is to get your attention. So you can go to the pain, through the pain, access who you truly are, and let who you truly are out. When you smoke marijuana, you literally, scientifically block that pain. You literally block the roadmap to spiritual process. That's the long-term risk of it, is that it becomes something that numbs your senses and you become less self-aware and you become trapped in this tamasic box, this cocoon, where it's safe and secure in this tamasic place, but you're not even experiencing rajasic behavior where you're getting stimulation from the outside to be satisfied. You're nowhere near getting, feeling sattvic, where you're feeling, satisfied to be a service to the world and be, happy for no reason and loving and caring and giving for no reason because it's your nature. You're locked in this protective box, which, is sort of a stoned feeling. You feel safe there. You feel relaxed there. You feel amped up parasympathetic there. You feel a sort of a dopamine reward there, but dopamine, don't forget, is a limited hormone. I mean, in other words, the more you stimulate it to give you a reward, the more you need to get that same reward. So the more marijuana you take, the more stoned yoga you do, the unfortunate thing is that you seem to need more and more of it, and you block those receptors for dopamine so you don't get that feeling of reward, and you end up in this inertic place, this tamasic box where you don't feel any pain or discomfort, but you're also checked out of the world. You're withdrawn, you've retreated, you've introverted. This is classically the description of marijuana in the Vedic text. It's a tamasic agent. And to get healthy again from a tamasic experience of life, if that's where you end up living all the time, you have to come back through the experience of Rajas and then go into a sattvic lifestyle. I have a questionnaire on my website, on my article at LifeSpa.com called, Learn Your Emotional Body Type. And you go through a questionnaire of all the different kind of emotional, states. And we ask you, are you more sattvic or rajasic or tamasic in each area? And you can begin to see where you're more tamasic in your life, where you're more rajasic in your life, and where you're more sattvic in your life. And nobody's asking us to be sattvic 100%. That's sort of like a saint. But you do want to become aware of where you are, just overstimulated by your senses and completely addicted to the outside world for your satisfaction, and where you're retreating and blocking and emotionally protecting and hiding from life a little bit. And that's the risk. Now, I'm not saying that marijuana is a bad thing. It's like alcohol, in moderation. It has spiritual benefits. It can help turn off a crazy, busy mind. It can help give you an experience of transcendence. It can help give you an experience of being calm and being peaceful in a yoga class. It can relax you. It can help you calm down your anxiety and your nervous system. But it's an entry tool to spirituality. It's not a tool that takes you all the way to spiritual fulfillment. That's just the bottom line. I've spent years in India studying with Ayurvedic doctors and yoga teachers and spiritual teachers. And this is kind of the word on the street, is it's kind of misunderstood as being ganja, the spiritual herb, and I take this and I become spiritual. It's really, unfortunately, a false sense of spirituality. It gives you the feeling of safety, parasympathetic dominance, where you can even heal sometimes, which is because your body's not in the stress state. But after you get out of the medicine, you have to come back into the real world. You have to experience your senses going in and out. Senses, getting you rewards from the outside world, but also your senses, as avenues of consciousness. So you experience yourself more deeply. And ultimately, at the end of the day, let who you truly are out. Become conscious. That's what Ayurveda is. Ayur means life. Veda means truth. It literally means letting the truth of your life out. So when I hear something about stoned yoga, I get it. It's kind of a cool thing and a fun thing, but I just wanted to put this video out there so folks can see that from the Ayurvedic perspective, there's a different understanding of what marijuana can do for us. and it will help launch you into some spirituality, give you a sense of calm, help turn off the nervous system. But then you got to do it on your own. It's a guide, it's a tool, so you can become self-sufficient and become, a spiritual being on your own. Somewhere where you have the ability to access your own inner calm, your own inner peace, your own inner joy, your own inner satisfaction without any agents to do it for you. So please read the article. I wrote a pretty hefty, lengthy article on this because I thought it would be important for people to understand what Ayurveda really has to say about the use of marijuana, particularly when this stone yoga practice is becoming very, very popular. I'm not particularly against it, but I want people to know what they're getting into when they do. And hopefully a good yoga teacher would use that as a medicine for certain students to help get them to a place where they can experience peace inside on their own. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard. Do you like this video? Don't forget to subscribe and share.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at lifespa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.